Hello and welcome back to Rage Gaming and more Arc Raiders. Today I want to talk to you about maybe there's some mistakes that you're making that have some bigger impact on your potential success. Maybe you're using the right guns but not the right way. Maybe you could easily be using better heals and items but you're still using normal bandages. Maybe it's a misunderstanding on shields and priorities. So I just want this video to leave you a bit more confident in what you're using, what you're thinking about and more. So let's begin. Firstly, let's look at the health bar. Then let's look at the shield bar. These things are two different things. The reason I say it like that is because your health is your health. Once that's zero, you're dead. When the shield is zero, you're still alive if you have health. But what does the shield actually do? It is not a second health bar like a lot of people seem to think. If you just look at a shield, it tells you. For a light shield, the damage reduction is 40%. For a medium shield, the damage reduction is 42.5%. For a heavy shield, that damage reduction jumps up a good amount, 52.5% damage reduction. There's also another difference between them. A light shield has 40 charge, that's 4 notches on the bar. Your medium has 7 notches, 70 charge. And then the heavy shield only gets one more over that at 80 charge. The point is, shields reduce the damage you're taking. So you'd rather have a shield active than not. But if you've just taken some damage, maybe panic applying a shield isn't the best option in the moment. Because when you took damage, you took shield damage and health damage. Because the shield doesn't stop health damage when you get hit. It only decides how much you take. If you look at a basic bandage, this results in 20 health once its duration's done. It's obviously very slow. So let's say you're currently on 50 health. Having a full shield would equate to 30 effective health, which is more than the 20 of a basic bandage. So if you're currently above 50 health, popping a shield recharge is actually better. But let's say you're even lower. Suddenly the bandage is more relevant. Then there are, better bandages like the herbal bandage or the sterilized. So it's still a 10-second duration, but it's 35 health instead, or 50 health with a sterilized bandage half your bar. So if you're very low health, you should use a raw heal. And if you have time in a fight to actually break away and start recovering, you should pop health, then do shield, then do health after that for the sort of min-max of your application. But in the middle of a fight and you need something as soon as possible, it depends. Are you over 50 health or below it? Below it, heal, above it, shield. On that note then, if you can avoid it, stop using basic bandages as much as possible. These are something you can make a ton of in the middle of a raid. But when you're equipping for a raid, having better is a good idea. Bring yourself to the medical lab and you can make herbal bandages no problem. This requires 1 durable cloth, 1 great mullion. Go to the refiner and you can make your own durable cloth, 1 per 14 fabric. And fabric is so easy to generate from commercial, medical, residential areas in general. For the plant, you can find it in so many locations. Take the buried city, within say many of the buildings there's just plants growing. A lot of it will be that mullion you're looking for. It's also really easy to find in the swamp of the damn battlegrounds. If you're in a pinch, you can bring yourself to Celeste though. She'll sell you some for 5 seeds a pop, which is a worthy trade. Just be wary that, she has a trade limit per day. Now another key component of the gameplay is using grenades. They are absolutely disgusting for killing raiders and Arc, which completely changes the fight. If you can land one of these on target even once in a fight on a target, that person's pretty much done. Here's me on a free loadout with a light shield and the suggestion of being able to deal damage, but I have 1 blaze grenade. So I sneak up behind this guy, pop the blaze grenade on him, and the fight's over. Boom, massive upgrade for me. But it doesn't have to be an insane grenade like that. Something as simple as light impact grenades are incredible, dealing 30 damage a pop and are easy to throw back to back to back. The key purpose for this though in PvP is to force someone off holding an angle. When you know someone's holding a corner, a doorway, whatever it is, pop it by their feet and you'll see them freak out and stop holding. Then you can push them. Bring yourself to your explosive station and you can see that you can make these immediately for minimal plastic parts and chemicals which you can get en masse. It is comically cheap to craft these, so always run them and drop them if you don't need them at some point. Now here's a big one, your weapon loadouts and what you're actually doing with them. Are you actually running the proper setups? I would say the most common basic loadout is this, the sticher combined with a ferro. But if you're looking at like a level 1 sticher and a level 1 ferro, you could be doing a lot better than that. Let's start with an important aspect of this, which is upgrading. To upgrade a basic weapon like this, it costs dirt cheap resources. Metal parts which we can make en masse from so many sources, and rubber parts much the same. But when I upgrade the sticher from 1 to 2, you can see that it does basically nothing, gives it a bit more durability. But then when we get to 2 to 3, suddenly it's incredibly relevant, doubling the reduced horizontal recoil, having a huge impact on the reload time, and yes, more durability. Finally, at the full level, we're halving the horizontal recoil of the weapon, we're almost halving the reload time. So you're able to blast this out, reload, blast it out, turning this into a meh kind of okay gun to one of the best raider killing guns that isn't green, blue, or purple. It's incredibly cheap and incredibly effective to do this. But then you have the ferro, which we all know fires a single shot, long reload, does great armor penetration, works as a sort of mini sniper. But the difference between a level 1 ferro and a level 4 ferro is comical. What you're doing when you upgrade it the first time is again basically nothing. But the third and fourth upgrade, suddenly you're changing the game. The reload speed is so much faster when it's upgraded. Taking it from something you pull out and shoot someone with to then swap to your sticher or something else, to something you'll spam at a target at long to medium range until they force you to pull out the closer range weapon. So at a minimum, be running level 3 grey weapons and you will feel an incredible difference in your gameplay. Here's another example when we look at a green weapon. The anvil, very popular, very strong, when upgrading from 1 to 2 is terrible. There's almost no reason to do this. Then you look at the anvil 2 to 3 and you see that reduced dispersion recovery time. So when you fire and it gets back to being accurate again, it's double the speed of that. Then you got the fire rate, which is comical for a big meaty weapon like this, spamming it into a raider or a target. Then it gets even better at level 4. Upgrading guns is one of the most impactful things you could possibly do. With that in mind then, bring yourself to Celeste and regularly be buying the simple gun parts to allow for that. If you're in a pinch and you have medium, these can be broken down into the simple gun parts. But here's another massive aspect to your early weapons. Something that people don't seem to be doing basically at all is these attachment slots. This is another way to massively change the performance of a weapon and for really cheap too. Bring yourself to your gunsmith. This is where you can see these and you can extend this with blueprints obviously. Simply hover over each thing. It'll tell you what it's compatible with. So this works with a ferro. It's going to reduce the horizontal recoil. Honestly, not that relevant for a single shot gun, so I'm not going to go for it. Compensator reduces the per shot dispersion and max shot dispersion, meaning when you fire, the gun is more accurate. For the ferro, that is something you absolutely want. For 6 metal parts and 1 wire, that is a massive impact. Think about the fact that we're using a sticher. Extending the mag allows me to dump the mag into a target, a raider, or whatever it is in terms of arc, and could be the difference of me losing that trade and engage. 6 plastic parts, 1 steel spring. And your basic stock. Improving dispersion and recoil recovery time, incredible for any gun that's going to be firing in a burst. This is going to be really relevant for say your rattlers where you want to reduce the recoil as much as possible. And this is straight up 20%. So I just always slam these in. Compensator may be the most impactful single thing that you could go for. If you can have a relevant mag increase, obviously that'll be impactful, and then just use a bit of common sense. A ferro, you're going to fire 1 single time. So I could put a stock on it, which yeah, would help the recoil recovery time, but I'm firing once then reloading. The recoil's back to normal after that, so it's pointless. But with something that you're firing full auto, like the sticher, that's what would have an impact. So it's an incredibly cheap way to again, massively improve the performance. Let's now talk about basic loadouts and what you're supposed to do with them. Key example, the sticher combined with a ferro. We all know this one. You fire the ferro into the raider, swap to the sticher, put them down. The potential skyrockets when you upgrade the ferro, so now you can fire at medium to long range over and over without pause. Your progression of something like this is to run instead something like a rattler, importantly when it's fully upgraded, because its mag size is going to be a lot bigger, turning it into a much more reliable weapon. It also massively benefits from the recoil reduction attachments, changing the gun. If you want to upgrade from the ferro, the anvil is an obvious choice because it's basically the same thing but with less downtime between shots, especially when upgraded for the insane fire rate perks. If you're dealing with squads, I strongly recommend an up-close weapon. The Toro is a really straightforward shotgun option and stupidly effective. Check out me using it to 1v2 without much threat by using right-hand peaks. Upgrading this would increase the fire rate and magazine size, which is both awesome. Now a lot of my friends really like the burletta. It's a light ammo pistol. And when you upgrade it, man can you reload this thing fast, pumping DPS. So I would recommend this in the place of the sticher or kettle or whatever you're using in terms of light weaponry. But where can you get these things without actual investment? Because if you're going to buy like a green weapon, well then you're spending 15,000 on just a single weapon. A lot of people aren't going to be interested in that right now. Or maybe crafting with blueprints as the alternative. I recommend raider cache runs. They're pretty busted as a source of weapons. Let's take a look at an example of the damn battlegrounds. It shows you right there, raider cache. They're not going to appear on the map, but I found them to be along the roads and outskirts all around the outside of the main points of interest. So you can find them around the Ruby residence, around the Pale apartments, along the road along the old battleground. Once you make it out the swamp, you find a ton of them around these locations here. Then I make my way east towards the outpost. Along the scrapyard is a pile of them for some reason. And then you have a nice convenient exit by this balcony lift if it's available. Plus, on the way, you're going to find depots. There's a depot at the water towers, for example. Here you just find the battery, take it to the depot, put it in, and you basically get a raider cache but bigger and better. And the awesome detail about this, you can have a look around and find multiple batteries and do it multiple times. It's insane. The point of a raider cache is that it's like looting a dead raider that's had like a reasonable run. You can find the shotguns, the burletta pistols, anvils. Many of these green weapons will come from this source and cost you nothing. The downside is that they'll have a bit of durability loss, like around 60-70%, which is more than fine because it'll work for 1 to 2 raids easily, and if you survive with it, you'll have what you need now to actually repair it. Plus, from these sources, you get a pile of grenades, which can help you survive the run, or kill Big Arc for the incredible valuables to sell, and the pure XP that provides. To find the raider caches, you just need to listen. You'll hear a whirring sound and clicking, and then you go towards the direction of that, and loot it. Super easy. There's also little signs next to them that point at them sometimes, which is also helpful. Now a quick word on better augments, which go a long way. The combat augment has this interesting passive where you recover health when damage is taken, but it also gives you a special grenade slot and max loadout weight of 55. Compare that to the looting one, that's max loadout weight of 60, and you get 3 special trinket slots for valuables. That's really nice, and a second safe spot. Lastly, you have the tactical, which obviously going to give you more grenade options, utility options, and only 45 max loadout weight, but it can use medium shields like the combat. Using these goes a long way, giving you basically much more potential in a run. To craft the better rare augments then, you need things like electrical components and magnets. If worse comes to worse, Celeste is like the pure source of that. She sells magnets for 6 assorted seeds. Then you bring yourself to the refiner, and you've got the electrical components right here. 8 plastic parts, 4 rubber parts, hilariously cheap. I've got 27 of them. So rather than permanently sticking to the lowest of the low equipment, if you've had a good run or two, consider a Snowball Concept then. Start with a free loadout. Take someone else's gear, or loot a bunch of raider stashes, have a nice chill run. Now you upgrade that augment to something more relevant. If you have a medium shield, a combat one. If not, go for a looting one, and run it again, packing in a few of these upgraded weapons to use for the next run. If you survive that run, it's time to properly upgrade your weapons and give them attachments. And if you survive that run, then maybe it's time to go to rare augments. The more you invest, the stronger you are, the less likely you are to die when something happens. And if this Snowball Concept helps encourage you actually start doing that, awesome. To fund this kind of stuff, you're going to need more materials. So as a little highlight to particularly look for what we've just covered, I want you to be making sure you take every steel spring you can. As you can see, it's involved in a lot of attachment crafting. Along with that is duct tape. Again, a lot of attachment crafting requires this resource. For steel springs, you look in industrial areas. For duct tape, you look in residential and commercial. If you're looking for medium and light gun parts, you'll find these in raider locations and security locations. And as a last note, if you start running medium shields because you feel like you can invest, which is great, you need a battery and arc circuitry to actually repair them. Batteries are commonly found, electrical areas, technological areas, sure. But the circuitry, you get these from probes en masse. So if you go do a single run where you're just opening probes that drop down, the ones you hear, you will find more of these than you know what to do with. So I'm able to run these medium shields whenever I want. One last key tip that I think will help people is a quick mention of night mode. It's in audio, turn it on. It turns all the sounds up and things like footsteps up. I much prefer this. Bring yourself to graphics and go to field of view. Turn that all the way up. It just gives you better vision around yourself. I much prefer having it the highest it can go. And lastly, take shadows and turn that all the way to low. In my experience, it's helped me see better in dark areas. But maybe you want to play around with this yourself, but I figured I'd mention it. But yeah, there you have it. That's my overview of some of the mistakes maybe people are making because they're not properly investing into the loadouts and having a hard time because of it. I hope the whole snowball concept encourages you to try a little bit of this and maybe you get more confident with it. But if you guys have any other advice that fits this topic, this isn't like a random tip like, hey, did you know you can turn around with zip lines? Something that genuinely helped you or might help others, let us know in the comments. But yeah, for now, that's everything. I've been Hollow, you've been you. See you in the next one.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.